Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive, honestly incredibly important challenge in the world of education. We're looking at modern technical and vocational education and training, or TVET systems. We're going to explore exactly how they're engineered to bridge that notoriously difficult gap between what a student learns in a quiet theoretical classroom and what they actually have to execute out in the messy, high-pressure real world. So, whether you're an educator, a student, or maybe a professional hiring new talent, understanding this transition is absolutely critical to seeing how the future workforce is being built.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll start with the vocational skills gap, then look at quality assurance and accreditation, followed by effective classroom instruction. After that, we'll explore workplace and industry learning, and finally, greening the TVET future. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The vocational skills gap. The classroom versus the real world. We're starting with a very immediate, highly relatable conflict. It's the hurdle almost every single student faces when transitioning from their initial training into an actual job.
To really frame this, I want to pose a direct question drawn straight from an actual occupational instructional skills exam. Picture this. A TVET institute partners with a local automobile workshop. The instructors notice that the students perform beautifully during classroom-based skill demonstrations, but midway through their practicum, those exact same students are completely struggling in the actual workshop. And on top of that, some trainees discover their workplace mentors are just assigning them basic non-skill related tasks, like sweeping up or running errands, instead of giving them meaningful training. But the trainee feels way too uncomfortable to complain because they're terrified of getting a bad evaluation. So why does this happen? Where exactly is the breakdown?
Well, look at how stark the contrast actually is here. Over in the classroom, performances based on familiar tools are really slow, forgiving pace, and a perfectly controlled environment. But the workplace reality, it hits them with real customer pressure, unfamiliar or maybe older tools, a much faster pace, and sometimes trying to navigate the social dynamics of a boss who just wants them to run errands. That comfortable classroom setting is dramatically different from the high-pressure realities of a real-world apprenticeship. And honestly, closing this gap is the entire goal of a modern TVET system. Section 2. Quality assurance and accreditation, building a better system. So how do institutions actually go about solving this massive gap?
They do it from the top down through rigorous accreditation. We're looking at the framework established by the Quality TV for Youth, or Quality Project, which is a major bilateral effort backed by the Swiss and Nepal governments. An institution can't just claim they're good, they have to prove it across some pretty strict criteria. These indicators ensure schools aren't just focusing on inputs, like how many desks they have, but rather on continuous improvement and actual competency development. This means evaluating human resources to make sure the instructors themselves have industry-relevant skills. They look at instruction and learning to ensure theoretical and practical training ratios are balanced, and crucially, market linkage. Are they actually partnered with real businesses? They also heavily weigh student support services like psychosocial counseling and research and development, including tracer studies to track where graduates actually end up getting hired.
As you might guess, getting this accreditation isn't exactly a walk in the park. It's a highly structured 5-step journey. Step 1 is just the expression of interest. Then comes Step 2, a highly detailed self-assessment report, where the institution really has to honestly grade themselves. Step 3 is a pre-visit, which is then followed by Step 4, a rigorous on-site visit and verification by an accreditor team. Finally, Step 5 is the final council decision. Breaking down this dense administrative process into a logical journey shows that if a school actually makes it through this, it proves they're ready to deliver education that survives in the real world.
Section 3. Effective classroom instruction, the micro-level pedagogy. Let's zoom back in from government policy straight into the actual classroom, where things like teaching workloads and session plans come to life.
There's this wonderful quote used in the instructional skills training for these TVET educators: "Well begun is half done." And it totally hits the nail on the head. It highlights the absolute critical importance of a structured lesson plan, specifically a tightly controlled 40-minute session. A good instructor doesn't just walk in and start talking. Their introduction has a very dedicated purpose. It has to immediately gain the learner's attention, establish links with past and future lessons, provide clear learning objectives, and point out exactly why the skill they're learning actually matters.
So how do they hook these students right from minute 1? Technical training can definitely sound dry, but the pedagogy demands that it be dynamic. Instructors are explicitly trained to use unexpected techniques to grab attention. They're encouraged to tell a joke, show a cartoon, or even share a relevant news event. They might use role play or simply bring in a real tangible object, like a beautifully finished product, and just say, "Hey, today we're going to learn how to make this." It's all about ensuring that those 40 minutes they have are perfectly optimized for adult learning.
Section 4, Workplace and Industry Learning, Theory Meets Practice. We've looked at the policy and the classroom. Now, let's see how structured industry linkages solve the exact problem we introduced at the very beginning of this explainer. And this brilliantly illustrates what happens when it all goes right. These objectives outline a real industry visit to the Bartabas Agro Silverline workshop. The initial goals were clear enough: understand practical training, observe tools, and link theory with practice. But look at the key learnings the students actually took away. It wasn't just about how to hold a wrench. The real learnings were discipline, workplace safety, on-the-fly problem-solving, and seeing the direct career relevance of what they study. Supervised practice at an agro-mechanical workshop effectively bridges that skills gap, transforming a classroom student into a legitimate workplace professional.
Section 5, Greening the TVET Future, Preparing for a Sustainable Economy. Let's transition to the ultimate test of an institution's adaptability.
Because it's not just about meeting today's market demands, it's about preparing students for emerging markets and, most importantly, climate change. Greening TVET is a massive, holistic effort. It's the process of reorienting and reinforcing existing TVET institutions and policies for climate change adaptation. And to be clear, this isn't just an elective class on the side. It means greening the entire campus, embedding sustainable components directly into every single curriculum, and designing entirely new training modules related to a sustainable, low-carbon economy.
An absolutely crucial point here is understanding the distinction between these two terms, green jobs versus green skills. A green job is a specific occupation that directly reduces negative environmental impacts. Think of a solar installer, an environmental engineer, or maybe a wind turbine technician. But green skills? Those are required by everyone. Green skills include the technical knowledge that enables a professional in any traditional field to use resources efficiently and minimize waste. You might be a traditional auto mechanic, but learning to upgrade an engine for better fuel efficiency and less greenhouse gas emission, that is applying a green skill.
To ensure these green skills are actually being utilized, foundational principles like the 3 Rs, reduce, reuse, recycle, are literally built into the national competency standards. For example, every single competency now requires a worksite clearance standard. It mandates that tools are cleaned, unused materials are sealed tightly, and work area waste is disposed of strictly in accordance with 3R principles. It's not just a nice suggestion, it's a graded standard.
Right here, we can see exactly how students are translating this green theory into tangible practice. These students are out of the traditional classroom, actively working in agricultural greenhouses. They're learning sustainable agriculture, water management, and soil preparation hands-on. They are quite literally getting their hands dirty to build a sustainable economy.
But it actually goes even further than the curriculum. I absolutely love these hand-drawn posters because they highlight fantastic, completely student-led initiatives. These are for a student eco-club, organogram, and mission statement. You can see they form teams for waste management, energy audit, and cleanliness. They actually go out and organize awareness rallies, tree plantations, and recycling projects. This proves a vital point from the source material. Climate change adaptation requires real behavioral change, and that change is taking root directly within the student body itself.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to chew on. Look at the modern TVET landscape we've just covered, from solving that initial workplace gap to intense accreditation, all the way down to eco-clubs and green skills. The true evolving purpose of modern vocational education has shifted pretty dramatically. Ask yourself, is an educational institution today simply teaching basic skills, or must it take on the massive responsibility of engineering a sustainable, resilient future for us all? Thank you so much for joining me to explore this fascinating topic. Keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.